When you think of PS1 games, what comes to mind? Probably old classics like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and Metal Gear Solid. However, for me, there are three very distinct games that I think of immediately. They are Muppet Monster Adventure, Bugs Bunny Lost in Time, and Jersey Devil. These three games may seem random, but they are the ones that I spent the most time playing growing up. I can't say they are the best games on the console. I can't even say that some of them are particularly good, but something about these games kept drawing me back into them, no matter how frustrating they might have been. Today I'm going to focus on Jersey Devil, a game developed by Behaviour Interactive and published by Sony in 1998. The titular character does not even bear a passing resemblance to what a Jersey Devil is supposed to look like, but the development team was Canadian, so they get a free pass. Jersey was found as a baby by Dr. Narf. It is at this point that the infantile creature decides to make this man's life a living hell. Now sure, Dr. Narf coincidentally happens to be evil, but the way the story plays out, you can see that Jersey is not so much a protector of the people as he is just trying to mess with the doctor's head. This becomes apparent when you realize that all of the caged hostages in the game, you do not have to save a single one of them. If you choose to, all it does is add to your total percentage. Other than that, there is no reward. Although Behaviour may have been trying to make some sort of brooding Batman-esque character, the actual result is that Jersey ends up more as a 90s anti-hero. He's only okay because he's not quite as bad as Narf. The controls are straightforward and fairly intuitive. It's a 90s 3D platformer, so you should know what to expect. Jumping, punching, and collecting en masse. You have all your basic moves: jump, attack, glide, pick up, throw, and an easily forgettable crouch button. Jumping and gliding takes some getting used to. At first you may always feel like you're not quite going to make it, which leads to some unnecessary anxiety. You also have to deal with the fact that you have to stick to the path they put you on. Even if you can feasibly glide to a platform halfway down the level to skip a tough part, there are invisible boundaries to stop you. This source of frustration is not helped by the weak level design. This game takes the concept of floating platforms and does not just run with it, it flies. Or floats, rather. It doesn't matter if you're in a cave, a tree, or a museum. 75% of the floor, walls, and ceiling will be missing. So much will be missing that you should just be amazed that the structure even holds. And for that matter, the very fact that the structure is recognizable from the outside is rather impressive, because you certainly can't tell what it is from the inside. And despite all of this, the game will still try to tell you that the walls and ceiling are there. However, the floor is not. Even in some places where the floor is there, the floor is not there. Combat is a joke, so I won't even bother to waste much breath on it. Most enemies will block your basic punch attack, the hit detection on your functioning jump attack is pathetic, and trying to throw TNT boxes is just a laborious task. Thankfully, you won't have to worry much about falling prey to the enemies you can't hit or the walls you can't see. Yes, they will kill you over and over again. However, you will have more than enough lives to get over it. It's not uncommon to see clumps of 4 or 5 extra lives sitting out in the open with no threats to prevent you from getting them. By the 6th level, of which there are 12, I had maxed out my extra lives at 99 and basically spent the rest of the game fluctuating between 98 and 99. It also doesn't help that death is a slap on the wrist in most cases. Checkpoints are generally pretty close together, so you don't have to worry about losing much progress even when you do inevitably get knocked back into the water by a bat that flies in from out of nowhere. There's a phenomenon in games like this, mediocre games that don't shoot for greatness. They catch problems in the playtesting. Things like, "Oh, people keep getting knocked off the cliff and into the water." Instead of changing the mechanics so the character doesn't get knocked back, or at least not so far, they just program in a few extra lives near the hard parts. I call this the Jersey Devil phenomenon, or if you'd rather, the just add water approach, because it pretty much waters down the game's integrity for the sake of not fixing the mechanics. It's not the worst thing in the world, because in many cases it does fix the problem, but it's disappointing. Like a child. 100%ing this game is easy in theory, but frustrating in action. To do so, you need to beat every level, destroy every nitro box, and release every hostage. The first one is easy. The other two are just annoying. Each mission is split up into sub-areas. Once you go from one sub-area into the next, you can't go back unless you restart the level. So if you left behind any hostages or nitro boxes, you have to start all over. Personally, I used a guide, not to locate the items, but just to tell me how many were in each sub-area so I didn't accidentally leave something behind. It's a pain, but it's the only way I managed to stay sane. Again, saving hostages isn't a rewarding endeavor. Destroying the nitro boxes has a bit more of a perk though. Smash every box in a level and you get a nitro bottle. Beat the boss and Jersey uses the bottle to blow up that boss's lair. Never mind that some of these lairs are cargo boats or toxic waste plants that could have some harmful effects from blowing them sky high. Blowing up a boss lair raises your power level. It sounds cool, but you don't actually get any stronger. It just means you can unlock the secret levels. Don't get your hopes up though. The secret levels are just slides. Also, blowing up the boss layers means you won't be fighting the bosses again when you go back into the level to replay it. I have to admit, this was a bit disappointing, considering that the bosses seem to be the only inspired parts of the game. Not even the music was a saving grace. It was kind of dull and repetitive. I ended up playing music from iTunes. I even listened to music from other games to make it interesting. It almost worked. Still, I can definitely say that Jersey Devil is the best mediocre game I've ever played. It really shows that the developers didn't try hard enough, which would almost be insulting, except in this case, it's just a little sad. It's sad because somewhere within my nostalgia, I can still feel that thing that kept pulling me into this game, and yet I can't dot the I on what it is. Perhaps it's the modesty that accompanies this game. This game doesn't try to pretend like it's a great game. It gives you what it is. So that is what gives this game that is so remarkably average that one extra point of oomph. So it's a 6 out of 10 for me. I recommend it if you're a connoisseur of platformers like myself. Otherwise, I'd say it's probably missable.